So we talk often about GPO contracts, launching contracts to the market. Are you ready? Is your sales team ready? Is your contracting team ready? Have you communicated with the GPOs and the IDNs? But today I want to talk about something that's very important, and that's the back office. Are you ready administratively to manage your GPO contract? So today I want to talk about 5 back office essentials before launching your GPO contract. Is your house in order? Are you ready to manage your GPO administratively? For medtech leaders, securing a GPO contract is just the beginning. And often it is very hard on the sales team and the negotiating team. But what happens is the real risk lies in how well your back office is prepared for the operation of that contract. For medtech leaders, securing a GPO contract is just the beginning. The real work, and actually the real risk, lies on how well your back office is prepared to operationalize that contract. So I ask yourself again, is your back office ready? Have you just invested in your sales team, or did you include your back office in the administrative team, and your customer service team, and your marketing team? Is all that ready to go on day one for an effective contract launch? Let's talk about 5 essential back office needs that you need to be ready before your contract launch. Number 1, contracting and pricing administration. You have to have a reliable way to manage your pricing eligibility, right? Tier structures, contract terms, expiration dates. So it could be a spreadsheet to get started, but you need to be able to manage this to prevent pricing errors, customer confusion. And GPO and IDN tiers are very complex. They have different levels of pricing. You have different rebates. You also have compliance requirements that need to be monitored. So a robust system really will ensure that you can accurately track those terms, your pricing eligibilities, your renewal dates, maybe even compliance across various GPOs and IDNs and their individual members. That's really a sophisticated level to be able to manage those compliance levels. But if you're putting 80% compliance or 50% compliance into your tier requirements, how are you tracking them? Have you thought through how you can manage those sales and what resources you would have to be able to actually track compliance? Maybe it's too complicated to get started and you want to stick with just pricing or units. That's okay. But make sure you're thinking about that before you sign your contract. Can I actually manage, track, and implement these contracts financially, administratively? Because it'll come down the road if you can't. This is vital for invoicing, chargeback management. Want to avoid penalties. If you're not managing fees, you're not managing contract, if you're not managing pricing, there could be penalties in your GPO contract that come back to you that you'll have to pay later. So these mistakes can be very costly, not just to the customer, but to you as a company. Number 2, fee and rebate tracking. Having a process in place to administrate these and follow these fees and performance rebates is extremely important. The whole contract is based around paying fees timely to the GPO or to the IDN, right? Or even to that RPC, that local GPO. So who's going to track them? How are you going to calculate them? Missing these can have significant financial impact because not only is it back pay of the fee that you may have missed, but it'll come with an interest on top of that. And you don't want to get audited from the GPO because you're not reporting sales properly or your fees properly. And I would say it happens too often where it's not done on purpose. It's just done at a lack of preparation to be ready for that contract launch. And when the sales start coming in, the success of the contract is there. It's really hard to keep up and manage with one person managing all the fees, all the rosters, all the rebates. So think about who's going to be in charge of those rebates and those fee tracking so that you can accurately report that back to the GPO. Your strong monitoring of your fees, and it will allow that finance team also to project future budgets around GPO contracting. If you're bidding on 3 or 4 more contracts in the next year, what are those sales going to look like? What are your projected growths? How much of that you're going to have to be paying in fees, right? Your 3% fee or additional admin fees if you get a performance award or you're going to offer more to try to entice the GPO to win, but allow that to accrue so you can think about what the budget will look like financially in the years to come. Number 3 is roster management. This one is very hard to do, but it's very critical. Roster management isn't just that the sales team has a target list or an opportunity list. But roster management also allows you to manage and make sure that if a contract is on GPO, that you're paying that fee accordingly. If they are on two or three, another GPO, maybe it's a secondary GPO, that you're not double paying your fees. You don't want to get caught paying everybody a fee of a GPO when it's maybe their secondary. You have the right to make sure your contract language specifically talks about primary GPOs and pay that accordingly so you're not paying too much. You also want to think about the roster as far as, who is my target audience, and am I accurately reporting the sales by a class of trade? So do you know your sales in a hospital versus EMS, in a surgery center versus a doctor's office? These are not just important to have as a lump sum to the GPO, but being able to break it down by class of trade really allows you to control your pricing. Very often do we see that different markets have different pricing structures and price points. So you don't want to be giving everybody one price across the board. So if you can separate your markets by class of trade, you can use that to build your tier structures, your T's and C's the right way, and then also to focus your sales force on where you want them to go after that gap analysis or go after the right target market for that contract. You can also build where you might be missing sales, or other talking points. But I would say if you're able to break it down, this is a great tool to have. Having good, clean roster management, having good, clean class of trade, knowing where your sales fall, and you can use that information back to the GPO at your QBR. And then you can talk about what other programs they may have for non-acute versus acute sales. And they can be completely different, and you can align that differently with your contract accordingly. Number 4 is chargeback and EDI readiness. Be ready for chargebacks. Making sure your EDI flow or establish is extremely important in knowing which partner will manage it. Without the pricing flow, you could have customer confusion. You could have distributor confusion. You could have miss rebates, and then you're going back and you're spending administrative time to go back and correct fees or correct rebates to your distributors. So you want to develop a clear pricing matrix that aligns with your GPO contract. It's integrated with your EDI system. It's streamlined, and it's an audible process, so you can go back and have checks and balances. You don't want the mismatched pricing to occur for those calculations like we talked about. But other things that can happen is rejected invoices. If you have the wrong price going into a hospital, receiving might reject it and not even take the product. It happens. So think about that. That patient that's going to be on the table tomorrow, that product might not get there because of administrative error, a pricing error, or a unit of measure error. So making sure that your pricing and everything is aligned with your system and with your EDI system so that the automatic processing is smooth and can flow through either direct to the customer or with the distributor. And you want to make sure that you've got it all aligned so you don't create that administrative burden on, again, the customer, maybe your distributor, and especially yourself. So having a system in place that can validate checks and balance system. You want to know your checkbacks requests from distributors, ensuring member eligibility. Do they belong on this roster? And of course, is correct pricing applied. And number 5 is contract performance reporting. How important is it to know if your contract is growing? So you want to build simple reports to track the sales of your contract and as well by the customers. Your GPO is going to want the visibility. Your team's going to need to know where to spend their time on. This will help you, again, build gap analysis of where growth areas are happening and where we're not getting penetration and why. Those are tools and metrics that your national accounts team can go back to the GPO and ask for support on why we're not getting penetration in certain areas. You have regular reporting sales to help calculate your fees. Those go hand in hand. Growth in dollars is important, but growth in fees is also extremely important to monitor because you can actually see the penetration happening within your contract. So robust data allows you to understand where your contract is performing, identify performance opportunities, assess impact with your pricing strategies. Did you offer the right price? Did you offer a right rebate? Or maybe you didn't offer a rebate at all and you want to go back and amend something mid-cycle to entice customers to have an early conversion bonus or a growth rebate. These are all things that if you have robust contracting, you're able to monitor and pivot as needed on the fly. You're allowed to make data-driven decisions, and that'll allow you to make better future negotiations of your contract or strategic decisions of when to move or pull back in certain areas. So demonstrating with the IDNs and GPOs of how you're managing your data is extremely important. Builds relationships, it builds trust, consistencies, great for QBR conversations. And overall, say as a wrap up here today, your spotlight always goes on the sales team. How well are they working? How well are they penetrating? They're the ones that are going to get pushed the hardest. But really what happens is you've got to take ownership internally too. You have to look at your investment in your back office team and making sure that teams like customer service have been brought in, educated, and trained. Do they understand what a GPO contract is and why someone's asking for tier 2 versus tier 4? Is your finance team ready? Do they have the ability to track fees, pay rebates? Sometimes you might have to pay quarterly rebates back to your distributor, or you might have to pay growth incentives to the IDN GPOs. So are you able to track that, keep that in place? Customers love to get their right price, but they also love to get their timely rebates as they budget that themselves in their savings and their goals. The same finance game happens on the hospital and the GPO side that we're playing, just to making sure that we're staying consistent with our pricing, our sales, our savings, our rebates, all tied together to get to that end goal. So don't rule out customer service, don't rule out marketing, don't rule out your clinical team, especially don't rule out your finance team, making sure everybody's aligned before your day one readiness. So my last point here I can say is a unified back office supports a much stronger sales team. So don't think just sales. Think about your back office. Thanks for your time today with Tuesday Talks with Toomey. I look forward to sharing more insights with you next week.